Service above self is a defining characteristic of Nebraska Cooperative Council Hall of Fame inductee Jerry Dolesh. This service to the agricultural cooperative system began at a young age when in 1972 Jerry found himself employed as part of a farmer-owned cooperative. In his 12 years of employment before starting his own farming operation, he worked in almost every capacity of service to the farmer owners of that cooperative.
My first experience with the cooperative, when Bonnie and I first got married, we moved to Minnesota a week after we were married, and I started working for a private, and that only lasted 6 months before the private sold out to the local co-op, and so I spent 12 years in Minnesota working in all areas. I started out working at a gas station, and then I was hauling feed, I was selling feed, I was assistant manager when I left.
In terms of Jerry's service above self, and I heard that phrase many years ago, and it's a phrase that's always stuck in the back of my mind when I look at things or evaluate people and organizations. You know, it's one thing to come in an elected capacity as a cooperative director and to serve on a board of directors. It's also another thing to come in with the enthusiasm, the commitment to try to be part of the solution and not part of the problem. There was many times that Jerry would call in advance of a meeting, talk about a particular issue. Whether it's a legislative issue, education, whatever it was. He always seemed to go the extra mile to come to the table prepared and using his best judgment. He always listened, he used his best judgment, but he always had the big picture in mind. And that's why I feel very strongly that phrase is truly very appropriate in describing Jerry.
This unique entry into the cooperative business model set the stage for Jerry to serve 30 years as a member of Battle Creek Farmers Cooperative Board of Directors from 1988 to 2018. He spent 17 years from 2002 to 2017 as chairman of the Board of Directors of the cooperative. In 2002, Jerry was elected to serve on the Board of Directors of the Nebraska Cooperative Council for a term that ended in 2012. During his NCC service, Jerry served 5 years on the Council's Legislative Advisory Committee, 5 years on the Excellence in Cooperative Education Committee, and 8 years on the NCC Hall of Fame Committee.
Yeah, Jerry, was always very calm and throw some humor in there from time to time, as he does. But if there was ever a topic that we needed to spend a lot of time on, he was sure to work the room to make sure to get everybody's input, or perhaps if it was a major decision, we'd talked about it a couple of meetings, Jerry would circle back around at the following meeting when we were going to make a vote and make sure that those decisions were properly addressed and talked to, and almost always had a unanimous decision at the end when it came to the final vote.
Jerry's tenure on the Nebraska Cooperative Council, the thing that I remember the most is the fact that he came in, I didn't really know him that well at the time. I got to know him. It was his leadership, his enthusiasm, his focus, his ability to think issues through, and he brought balance to that. It's also my understanding there that years ago he had worked at a co-op in Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken. And so he had a unique experience as working as a staff member at a cooperative as well as farming and being on a board of directors. I found him to be quite an asset.
Jerry's commitment to the value of the farmer-owned cooperative was expressed by Jerry in his belief in the cooperative way. Jerry advocated for the agricultural cooperative system, not only by encouraging young farmers to experience the benefits of being members of their local cooperative, but also by advocating for the importance of the cooperative system to state legislators and other policymakers.
To me, the co-op way of doing things would be treating your customers right, not always maybe having the best price, but always having the product, and also the fact that you're doing business with yourself. So that's what I thought about the co-op way. Why would I want to go somewhere else, even if the price isn't the cheapest, when I'm doing business with myself, and in the end, I'm going to either get patronage or, if not, a great bunch to work with.
I'm going to say Jerry, in trying to get younger people involved in the cooperative way and or supporting the cooperative system, he was always very big on trying to get younger producers, associate members, to be involved in our system, to attend the Co-op Council education courses, and just in his business dealings alone, again, Jerry was always a great cooperative supporter and would encourage younger individuals to understand the business value of the cooperative system and what it could bring back to their operation, not only financially, but education-wise, Rocky, what they could learn from each other by attending meetings and or just going to different workshops. Along with that, when Jerry was ready to retire, he wanted some young farmers that were working to get started to farm his ground, and he was sure that if they weren't part of the cooperative system, that when they were going to farm his operation and take over his farm, that they were and or became cooperative members.
The one instance that really sticks out about Jerry's service on the Nebraska Cooperative Council was when he was first elected. I had invited him and his wife Bonnie and another couple of board members to come down to what was known as Nebraska Federation Retail Business Association banquet reception that we had on the opening day of the legislative session. And at that, we would have a very good turnout of legislators, and that group was made up of about 32, 34 business entities. And one of the things we made a deliberate decision is that we wanted to be part of the business community, more active than we had probably been years before that. And so when Jerry came down, he didn't really know what was involved with the process. And I explained, just mingle with the people, just let them know that you're with a cooperative council, and feel free to engage in any discussion. During the evening, I had an opportunity I was mingling with people, but Jerry had gone off the side, and I had walked over where he was at. And I remember this very vividly because when he was there and he was talking to a couple state senators and a couple other representatives of groups, the way that he was articulating, very quietly but very deliberately, about the value of that cooperative to his farming operation, to his community, and to the state's economy. You couldn't have asked for a better presentation. It wasn't one of these forceful things, in-your-face salesmanship. It was a quiet determination, very deliberate.
As a cooperative employee serving farmers and as a farmer owner, patron, board member, and statewide participant in Nebraska's agricultural cooperative system, Jerry's contributions leave a lasting legacy of service.
Jerry deserves to be in the Nebraska Co-op Hall of Fame. Just all of the years of service that he dedicated in several facets of Nebraska cooperatives and being involved in the regional cooperatives from younger when he worked at the cooperative in his younger life and early in his, after he had been married. And then when he returned back to the farm, he served on Farmers Pride Board for 30 years and then as chairman for 17 years, and certainly always supported the cooperative way of doing business.
Well, what it means to me to be inducted into the Nebraska Co-op Hall of Fame is it's a great honor. I never expected in my life to have an honor this great. I knew I'd served some time, but I always thought, well, there's people that did more than I did, and I'm just very honored to have that.
Congratulations, Jerry Dolesh, on your induction into the Nebraska Cooperative Council Hall of Fame on November 15, 2023.